Next up, Nintendo games. Yes, Nintendo is a mere 8-bit system, which pales by comparison to the 16 and 24-bit systems available now. 24-bit being Neo Geo, and 16-bit being systems such as the Sega Genesis and the TurboGrafx 16. But nevertheless, beyond any shadow of a doubt, Nintendo does still have quite a number of very high-quality games available. You saw Life Force, which, as I'm sure you will agree, is quite a high-quality shoot-'em-up. And by the way, in case you're wondering how I managed to survive dying so much, I found out a code to use with Life Force that allows you to have 30 lives. You get 3 continues, so there's a total of 90 lives right there. No, 120 lives. First set, and then the 3 continues. So you get 120 lives to finish it. And that's how I was able to just keep on dying all the time and keep on going without having to take a break in the game or anything, or start back at the beginning of the level. So just in case you were wondering there, you know. Anyways, I have another Nintendo game to show you. Actually, I have 2 Nintendo games to show you. I'm not sure which ones I'll show you. Well, I've got Dragon's Lair for the Nintendo version. Well, I don't have it. I have it on tape. I rented it and taped it. I also have Battletoads. I think I'll show you Battletoads. Battletoads was basically created, I believe, to be competition for the Turtles games. In my opinion, it is a lot better, and in a lot of game players and reviewers' opinions, it's a lot better too. Mainly because the graphics are a lot more creatively done, the sound effects are outstanding, the music's fantastic for Nintendo. The most realistic drums I've ever heard in a Nintendo game, that's for sure. But you'll see for yourself. Yeah, it's quite an entertaining game all around. You'll notice exaggerated, very cartoon-like graphics. Like, for example, when your character punches a villain, sometimes it's like it'll be a huge fist, like totally exaggerated, or a huge foot, he kicks a villain or something, or whatever. But you'll see for yourself. I have the first 4 levels on tape. Chris and I were playing it. You should know Chris. You should know who Chris is by now. He played level 1. I played level 2. He played level 3. We both played level 4, but what you're going to see is when he played level 4 for the first time. Level 3, as I'm sure you'll notice, is rather hectic. I had not mastered it yet, still haven't. Chris had. He sort of has a knack for those kinds of things. Anyway, here's Battletoads, the Nintendo Entertainment System, distributed by Trade West and produced by Rare Productions. Here it is, Battletoads. Check it out.
Greetings, everyone. Sean from the future here again. Welcome to part 2, the epic conclusion of Battletoads. Well, the epic conclusion of how far we managed to get, anyway. So, yep, still trying to get through the speeder bike level. You'll notice it takes a few attempts. Needless to say, this level was the bane of our existence for most of the weekend. I mean, you can see just how crazily fast it is. And this isn't even as fast as it gets. And apparently later in the game, there's actually another speeder bike level that's even harder. So, yeah, it's probably a good thing we didn't get very far, because if we did, we probably would have been just... As soon as we saw there was another speeder bike, we'd be like, fuck this! And just thrown the controller out the window. But I started to say last time, and then realized we were almost out of time. Games today just seem to be way too easy. I mean, you just don't see games with this kind of difficulty curve anymore. Very rarely. Like, once in a blue moon, you'll get something that's insanely difficult. But really, games today are so easy. They're more about the just getting from one objective to the next and working your way through the story, rather than actually presenting any kind of true challenge to you. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. You can see it's speeding up a little bit. Okay, check this out. I have no idea how Chris managed to do this. Well, so far he hasn't Oh yeah, this is, if you're wondering where this music is from, this beat, it's the pause sound. Yeah, sometimes we would just pause the game and rock out to that because it was awesome. And you may notice it was actually like the punch and kick sounds that had been turned into a beat, which is pretty cool. Oh, here we go, here we go. Oh, oh, damn it! Yeah. See, back in the day when this came out, you needed actual hand-eye coordination in order to play games like this. I mean, there was just, I would love to see some of these loudmouth gamer kids who are all into their Call of Duty and crap like that to try to play something like this. It's like, yeah, you think you're so tough? Try Battletoads, punk. It will kick your ass, and then we will all laugh at you. Unfortunately, you can't take the speeder bikes with you. Yeah, I think we were actually quite relieved that we didn't have to take the speeder bikes with us. So there we go. So we're into basically World 2, which has another 3 levels. I think there was 12 levels total, something like that. It's either 9 or 12. I can't remember. I remember there wasn't like a huge number of levels in this. If you were actually good at it and knew what you were doing, you could potentially do it in a few hours. So, level 4 here. This is the first time we had ever been to level 4. So, prepare for, an epic exercise in fail. Battletoads is definitely one of the kinds of games where you had to play through it several times, and you had to learn. You essentially had to learn the patterns for everything. So here we didn't know if the snowman was actually dead or not, but yes, he is. You hit him with the snowballs, and he turns into a pile of snowballs, which you can then use as a weapon, which is pretty cool. There we go. Yeah, the snowmen have a pretty simple pattern. It's just a matter of paying attention. I like how they both nailed each other at the same time. That was great. What was I going to say? So as a potential turtle-beating franchise, sadly, Battletoads was not terribly successful. It really didn't make it out of the video game realm. We had this one about a year later. They came out with Battletoads versus Double Dragon, which actually teamed up Battletoads with Double Dragon, which was actually a pretty ingenious idea. Like, as far as team-ups go, it was a pretty natural combination to have, the fondly remembered, well-loved, and just awesome classic beat-em-up teaming up with the new kids on the block. Oh god, did I actually say that? I hate the new kids on the block, meaning the band. They ruined that phrase forever. I know. Does that make me a bad 90s kid? Well, I'm more of an 80s kid anyway, so fuck new kids. Anyway, yeah. So it was a pretty ingenious idea, I thought, to team up the old beat-em-up team with the new beat-em-up team. And then there was 1 or 2 appearances on the Super NES, and then that was pretty much the end of the story for Battletoads. There was one attempt to bring them outside of the video game realm, and that was a animated pilot for a proposed series. I actually have the animated pilot on VHS. There was a VHS release of it. Now, okay, looking at this video game, I think any one of you out there could probably come up with a better cartoon concept than what they actually did in the pilot episode. So, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. You have, alien turtles, alien toads with attitude, kicking butt on alien planets, fighting strange creatures. You got speeder bikes and, killer snowmen. And there's just so much stuff here that you could have fun with in an animated series. And, the concept itself is pretty solid as it is, Alien toads, they live on a spaceship and they fight evil. Fight the evil Dark Queen and her minions. So, how hard is it to turn that into a cartoon? So what did they do? Well, for the cartoon, they basically decided to make it Earth-based. First mistake. Second mistake, the toads weren't always toads. They were actually teenagers who had the ability to magically transform into the toads and fight evil. But they were human teenagers that would transform into the Toads, like, magically. Why? Why did they do it like that? And yeah, I mean, as soon as you see the opening titles of the Battletoads pilot, you just think, wow, no wonder this didn't get picked up. This is a whole steaming pile of fail. And yeah, I've never been able to figure out why they decided to go in that direction. It just, I don't know. Maybe they thought if they kept them as Toads, there would be too many comparisons to the Turtles. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.
Wow, you can see like every detail on the wall. Cool. So there you go. What'd you think? Not bad, eh? I enjoyed it. I think it's a good game. Chris was playing level 4 there, and in case you're wondering why he did so badly, it's because that was the first time he had ever played it. We got marginally better after a while, but it's a tricky game, you know? It keeps you on your toes, that's for sure. I'm hoping that maybe they'll come out with a home computer version of it, because it's a very popular game. It was judged one of the best games of 1991 for Nintendo. Another good game for Nintendo, I think, is Super Mario Bros. 3. In this case, and I think in this case, one of the few cases where you can say this is believe the hype. Mario games are good. They are very good games. Like they're colorful, they're lively, they're full of millions of different things you can do. Chris was in the States once. Oh, he's been in the States several times. This one time he got a book about Super Mario Brothers 3, which had hints and maps and basically told you every single thing you could do in that game and how to do it. Told you tricks like you wouldn't believe. Basically every single thing you can do, this book told you how to do it in Super Mario Bros. 3. So we rented it and we played it, even knowing everything we had to do and doing it all correctly. The game lasted about 8 hours from beginning to end. Like we didn't warp like you can warp from level to level in some points, but we didn't do that. We went through it one level at a time. There was a couple of spots where we bypassed them because they were just too impossible. Like there's this one part in World 8, several levels in each world. There's this one part in World 8 where you have to go through this monster castle, which is just massive. I mean, it's impossible to do. We didn't even bother attempting it. And the whole thing is a labyrinth, so I mean, you could easily get lost. And of course, you're working under a time limit, so you get lost in there. You get killed 600 times, and waste all the extra lives that you've earned throughout the game. And trust me, there's a lot of ways to earn a lot of extra lives.
Greetings, everyone. Sean from the future here again. I forgot to mention a couple of things during my previous commentaries, so thought I'd throw them on in a little addendum section at the end of part 2 here. So the first thing is to do with the speeder bike level. Let's take a look here. This is the final section, the part where it really speeds up fast. I want to see if you notice something. Did you see it? No? Okay, well, here's the second attempt. Did you see it that time? No. Okay, well, here's the third attempt. Now, watch carefully. Still no, eh? Yeah, well, it's pretty fast. Okay, let's slow things down a bit and see if that makes a difference. And pause. Yeah, see that sparkly thing there? Guess what that is? It's a warp. Yeah, you can actually skip to the next level if you just plow your speeder bike into that warp. Strangely enough, we never managed to accidentally do that. We discovered what that actually was quite some time later when I think we found like a strategy guide or something like that. Both Chris and I used to read GamePro magazine and stuff like that quite a bit back then. Yeah, so all you have to do is like 9/10 of the speeder bike level, and then you get this nice little warp that'll take you to level 4. Gee, thanks. That's just so useful. Why wasn't that like in front of the third brick at the beginning of the frickin' level? It's like they're just giving you the finger. It's like, yeah, we'll throw a warp in there so you can skip the level, but you have to do like 99% of the level to get to the warp. We're not going to make it easy for you. I mean, this is Battletoads. Easy is not in the Toads vocabulary. So yeah, little hot tip for you. If you manage to survive through the vast majority of the speeder bike level, you can skip, like, the last 3 parts of it. Meaning, like, the last 3 bricks you have to avoid. Gee, thanks, guys. Awesome. And apparently there's other warps like that scattered throughout the game as well, which I'm sure were also located in equally useless places. So the second thing I wanted to mention was that I actually did own Battletoads for a while. I loved the NES game so much, I wanted to own it, but of course I did not own an NES. We would just rent them all the time. But I did have a Sega Genesis for a while, and I was overjoyed when I discovered that Battletoads was actually available on the Sega Genesis. So I thought, hey, that's going to be awesome. Like, so it's the original Battletoads game, but upgraded with 16-bit graphics and stereo sound, and oh, it's going to be just amazing. So I picked it up and eagerly popped it into my Genesis and began to play. And it wasn't really upgraded. It was basically identical to the NES game, although the sound design was slightly different. And to be honest, I thought the sound wasn't as good as the NES version. I mean, the thing you gotta remember about the old consoles is the old consoles had their own unique sound chip, like unique to that console. So every console had its own unique sound. I mean, nothing else sounds like an NES. Nothing else sounds like a Sega Genesis, you know, or a Super NES, for example. They all have their own unique and distinctive sound. And, well, they emulated it pretty well. I mean, it was still the same music, but using different instrument sounds. It just didn't quite have the same punch as the original NES version. But the real kicker was when I paused the game. Now, of course, in the NES version, you pause the game, and you hear this, which is awesome. So I was really stoked to, check out the Genesis version. I thought, oh man, the Genesis version is going to be even more amazing because it has a way better sound chip. So I paused the Genesis version almost as soon as I started playing, just to hear what the pause sound was going to be like, and this is what it sounded like. Yep, you guessed it. They didn't even have the pause sound. So it's like it's like they completely missed the point of what people loved about the original NES version. It was just kind of a quick cash grab, like, Battletoads made a lot of money on the NES. Quick, let's throw together a Genesis version and just get people to buy it, and we'll make lots of money too. Yeah, so disappointing. And so disappointing, in fact, that as excited as I was to own Battletoads at the time, originally, at first, the lackluster sound design really ruined it for me, because for me, one of the big things about the NES version was the sound design. It was the music, the sound effects, and just the meatiness of it all. And the Genesis version was really lacking in that. The graphics were fine. They, as I say, were pretty much identical to the NES version, just without a lot of the flicker, because of course the Sega Genesis had a much more powerful processor, so it could handle more of the, excessive sprite actions and whatnot. But yeah, so even though I owned it, I still never actually finished it. I think I played pretty much as far as Chris and I did that weekend, and didn't really go much farther. Anyway, that's Battletoads on the NES, and a little bit about the Genesis version and how it compared. Anyway, that is definitely it from me to you for now, so thanks for watching, and sayonara.